Level 1, the $50 Freelancer. It's 2:47 a.m. You're on your third energy drink. A borrowed monitor, a laptop that runs so hot you rest it on a textbook so it doesn't burn the desk. You're 19 years old. You have $38,000 in student loans. And you just accepted a project on Upwork for $50 that any senior developer would charge $2,000 for. But you take it. Because the client has a 5-star rating. Because you need a portfolio. Because at this level, every yes feels like a miracle. You deliver the project in 4 days. The client requests 3 revisions that weren't in the scope. You do them, for free, because he promised to refer you. He never refers you. You learn the first rule of this world. At this level, nobody respects you for what you know. They respect you for what you deliver quietly. You install your 10th framework of the month. You watch YouTube tutorials at 2x speed. You copy code from Stack Overflow without understanding it and pray it works. And it works. It almost always works. You close the month with $340. You worked 280 hours. You do the math on your phone calculator and pretend you didn't see the result. Your college roommate just got hired at a bank. 80 grand a year, 9 to 5, weekends off. He goes to bed early. You're here at 4 a.m. debugging a bug for a client who sent you a 7-minute voice message complaining about a comma. And still, you don't stop. Because somewhere inside you, you're not being paid for the code. You're being paid to learn how to survive the game. And the game has barely started. Level 2, the junior hire. 8 months later, you passed 3 technical interviews. You got 2 algorithm questions wrong, but you nailed the culture fit. That was enough. $68,000 a year. Health insurance. 401k match. You've never had health insurance. You call your mom from the parking lot on your first day and try not to cry. But the work is something else. You discover what a real codebase looks like. 400,000 lines. Nobody has documented anything since 2019. The senior engineer who wrote the critical module left 2 years ago, and nobody knows where he went. They assign you a bug. It takes you 4 days just to understand what the code is supposed to do. On the 5th day, you find the error. It's in a file called temp triov2 to blow on ok.js. You fix it. You don't tell anyone how long it took. You learn the second rule. At this level, perceived speed matters more than actual speed. You start watching. Who talks in stand-ups? Who stays quiet? Who has the tech lead's ear? You don't have power yet, but you already understand where the power lives. The senior next to you makes nearly 4 times what you make, does half the tickets. But when he speaks in a planning meeting, the room listens. You push your first production deploy. The system serves 200,000 users. You've never met any of them. You never will. But your commit is on that server. Your name is in the Git blame. And somewhere in that distance, you start to understand the geometry of this. You are the foundation. The part nobody sees. The part nobody thanks. The office is empty. You're the last one out, again. You look at the Slack notifications still blinking on your phone. And for the first time, you're not thinking about the salary anymore. Level 3, the mid-level with a side project. 2 years later, you're a mid-level engineer now, 110,000 base, but the salary became a detail. Because you discovered something nobody told you. Your day job became a paid scholarship for you to build something else. You wake up at 6. You work 9 to 6 at the company. You eat dinner. And from 8 to 11, every single night, you build your project, a micro SaaS, a Chrome extension, an API that solves a very specific problem only 10,000 people in the world have, but those 10,000 pay. You launch. 20 users in the first month. 3 paying. $47 in MRR. You celebrate like you closed a Series A, because for the first time, somebody paid for what came out of your head, not for your hours. At the company, you start architecting, not just executing. They invite you to design a new service from scratch. You deliver a 14-page technical document. The CTO reads it, calls you into his office, says he's impressed. You don't sleep that night. But here comes the third rule. Proximity to the code that generates revenue is proximity to power. And proximity to power means proximity to decisions you'd rather not have made. They ask you to implement a dark pattern in the checkout flow. You know what it is. You know it'll lift conversion by 12% and quietly charge a few percent of users for things they didn't mean to buy. You don't say anything. You implement it. You collect your year-end bonus. You rationalize it the way everyone rationalizes it. You just wrote the code. The decision came from above, and at night, on your side project, you swear yours will be different. That your product will be ethical. That you'll be the one who proves you can make money without screwing the user. You still believe that? For now. Level 4. The senior tech lead. 4 years in. You're senior now. Tech lead of a team of 6. 180,000 base, plus equity refresh, plus a bonus that depends on metrics you don't fully control. You stopped counting your hours. You think in deliveries now. In sprints. In OKRs. In problems that cost the company $200,000 a month until somebody fixes them. And the somebody is you. You lead the migration of a legacy monolith into microservices. 11 months of work. 4 teams involved. 3 vendors. You barely write any new code. You write documents. You sit in meetings. You unblock people. You fight with the infra team. You defend your team from PMs who want impossible deadlines. You discover that being senior isn't about code. It's about absorbing chaos so the others can produce in silence. Your side project now makes $18,000 a month. It's almost matching your salary. You start running the numbers. How long until you can quit? How much runway do you need? Your wife asks if it isn't risky. You tell her staying is riskier. But you don't quit. Not yet, because you discovered the 4th rule. Real leverage isn't financial. It's informational. You know which companies are about to do layoffs. You know which technology the market will abandon in the next 18 months. You know which stack your CTO is secretly evaluating to replace half the team. You don't use that information against anyone. That's not what this level is about. But you know. And the knowing makes you sharper, more decisive, less anxious. You lose a promotion to someone less technical than you. The guy has lunch with the VP every Wednesday. You never had lunch with anyone. You don't complain. You don't ask for an explanation. You just schedule a coffee with the VP the following week. And then with the director. And then with the CFO. At the senior level, code is half the job. The other half you don't learn in any course. Level 5, the micro SaaS founder. You quit on a Tuesday. You didn't post on LinkedIn. You didn't celebrate. You just closed the company laptop and opened your own. Your SaaS makes $22,000 a month. Net. Alone. No employees, no investors, no meetings, no boss. You wake up when you want. You work from 7 to 1. You have a slow lunch. You come back at 3 and answer support tickets. And the rest of the day you think. You just think. Strategy, positioning, next feature, next pivot. You make more than your old tech lead, more than your old engineering manager, some months, more than your old director. And nobody knows you exist. That's what nobody tells you about this level. The silence. You don't have coworkers anymore. You don't have stand-ups. You don't have that Friday relief of knowing someone else decides what gets built on Monday. Now you are the someone else. Always. You serve 12 enterprise clients, each one worth between $2,000 and $15,000 in monthly recurring revenue. You're not working for a company anymore. You are the relationship with these clients. That's a subtle but seismic distinction. A big client threatens to churn. They're 11% of your MRR. You spend the entire night rebuilding a feature he asked for. Not because the feature makes sense for the product, because losing him would mean 3 months to recover the revenue. It's a political decision disguised as a technical one. Every important decision at this level is, you travel to your first international conference. Lisbon. You meet other founders. They're not engineers anymore. They're operators. People who talk about CAC, LTV, churn, ARR multiples, valuations. You understand half. You write everything down. You go home and study for another month. Your identity quietly starts to reorganize itself around the machine. You don't notice. Nobody does. Not at first. Level 6. The funded founder. You have 14 employees now. A CTO, a head of growth, a support team in 3 time zones. You haven't written code in 8 months. When you open the repo of your own product, you don't recognize half the files. Your SaaS does $800,000 in MRR. You raised a $4.5 million seed round from a Bay Area fund. You diluted 18%. You signed the term sheet on a 40-minute Zoom call. You don't optimize the monthly profit anymore. You optimize the compounded growth across an 18-month window. You don't think in features. You think in distribution, in moat, in who's going to acquire you 4 years from now. You lead a negotiation to acquire a smaller competitor. $2.3 million in cash plus an earnout. 3 months of due diligence. Your lawyer in San Francisco. Your accountant in Austin. Corporate structure reviewed by a firm that bills $1,200 an hour and doesn't even answer your direct line. You close the deal at a dinner in Soma, at a restaurant you wouldn't have walked into 3 years ago. You shake hands with the founder of the competitor. He's the same age as you. Same kind of school. You'd never crossed paths before that moment. But now one of you walked away richer, and the other walked away trying to hide the relief. You structure the holding through a Delaware C Corp feeding into a parent entity that controls the operating arm. The tax efficiency is substantial. The structure is entirely legal. 2 attorneys, one in Palo Alto and one in New York, blessed every comma. You sign without hesitating. That acquisition will add 40% to ARR in the first year. You stop going to tech meetups. It's not a time issue. It's that the conversations don't serve you anymore. Your social world has narrowed down to other people who control capital or control product at scale. Coincidentally. Level 7. The portfolio operator. You sold the SaaS. 8 times ARR multiple. The net number in your account has 9 digits. You don't tell anyone, not even family. Your mom still asks if you want a sandwich when you visit. But you didn't stop. There's no way to stop. The money was an exit only in the imagination of people who never got here. Now you operate a portfolio. 4 startups where you're an angel investor. 2 where you're on the board. 1 where you're the silent founder, holding 40% of equity, with someone else's name on the LinkedIn page as CEO. You're not in the market anymore. The market is in you. Your allocation decisions move price. When you join a round, other funds follow. When you pull back, analysts write threads about it for days. You take 2 calls today. One from a sovereign wealth fund in Singapore that wants to put you on as a paid advisor for a $200 million fund focused on emerging markets. You tell them you'll think about it. The second is from the head of innovation policy at a state government, asking for advice on a regulatory framework for AI startups. You don't charge. But you suggest the names of 3 people who will benefit directly from being in that room. They will remember. And so will you. You don't lobby. You advise. The distinction is real. The influence is the same. The moral architecture becomes abstract at this level. The consequences are too diffuse to feel. Distributed across too many decisions, too many people, too many places. You don't feel the layoffs at the portfolio company that just cut 30% of its staff to extend runway. You feel the IRR. You optimize the IRR. That is the system. The 7th rule. There is no outside perspective anymore. You are the perspective. Level 8. The invisible architect. You don't have a title anymore. Just a name. Nothing under it. Advisor. Founding partner. Family office. Technically accurate. None of it is true. Stakes in 11 companies. Seats on 3 boards. A private fund you never publicly announced, registered in the Cayman Islands, run by 2 former operators you've known for 20 years. You're 58 years old. 35 of them inside the machine. It was here before you. It will be here after. 3 founders of unicorn companies know you by your first name, not because of your resume. Because the information flows in both directions. You know what they're going to do before they do it. They call you when they need an answer no one else can give. You don't invest based on the market. Investing reacts. Positioning precedes. 2 years before anyone else, you saw that an entire vertical of B2B SaaS was going to collapse under the weight of AI agents. You positioned accordingly. Not to cause the collapse, to be on the right side when it arrived. When it happened, your funds gained. The press called it vision. It was just math, done early. The cost of this level is something nobody prepares you for. The people you trust number fewer than 8. Outside that circle, no one understands half of what you do, what you carry, what you decide. You have more access than anyone in your life can comprehend, and you have almost no one to share it with. You're too embedded to be removed. The system would cost more to take you out than to keep you in. That's not power. That's something quieter, colder, and more permanent than power. A room in Manhattan, 32nd floor. 4 people. No agenda on the table. No deck on the screen. You speak for about 6 minutes. The room listens to every word. Then you stop, and the room moves. And somewhere, right now, in a rented apartment in a city that never sleeps, in a bedroom that doubles as an office because there's no other room available, a 19-year-old opens VS Code for the very first time. He just accepted a $50 freelance job on Upwork. To him, it's a lot of money. To him, it's the beginning of everything. He thinks this game is about code. He thinks the system rewards whoever studies more, learns more frameworks, ships faster. He doesn't know yet what the system actually rewards. But he will find out. The screen blinks. The cursor starts pulsing in the empty editor. And the machine takes one more step forward.